Hey buddies, SomeNutzGuy here. Hope you're having an awesome day so far. In this video, we're going to quickly go through a advanced guide for the Forge and the Laboratory. This one's not the easiest to do because it's not an exact science, if you will. There's a lot of RNG and sort of trial and error to it. There's no way to get it exactly the way that you want it. What I can show you is how the mechanic works, what you're aiming to achieve by utilizing those mechanics, and some best practices to achieve the best result, if that makes sense. But because of the fact that it is heavily RNG based, there's going to be a lot of trial and error. I highly suggest or recommend doing an Ascension dice run, so doing an entire run on easiest difficulty dedicated to trying to produce the best ascended dice. You can ascend as many dice as you want in a single run. You just need an obelisk per ascended dice. So create as many fantastic ascended die as you can, so that you can then utilize all these ascended die in future runs as well. You can always ascend a already ascended die as well. So if you bring it into another run, you just ascended it again, so you can constantly keep having that dice. You know, it's not going to get destroyed by using an ascended dice, or you know, not be able to be ascended for another run. So these can create some really, really powerful dice that you can utilize for the rest of your time playing Dice Legacy. Alrighty, let's go. So I'll quickly give a light overview on how the Forge and the Laboratory work. You guys may already know this. This is an advanced guide, so we'll get through that really quickly and then get to the more advanced stuff real quick. The Forge, you basically mash two dice together. Any two dice, mashes it together, and it creates a construct die. It takes random faces from the two die that you put together to create the die in question. Building with the Forge can add additional attributes to dice. And if you go, I would highly recommend waiting until you have maxed out your manipulation tree in terms of the Forge here. Because as you see, Forge produces more powerful construct dice. Forge produces even more powerful constructor dice. So this reduces the RNG and trial and error elements because it's going to have a higher chance of giving you the better stuff that you're looking for. So you mash two dice together, random die face, makes up the 6 die, and you can have a random attribute. Now, the attribute can be positive or negative. There's more negative attributes than there are positive ones, but some of the negative ones aren't that big of a deal, and a lot of the positive ones are actually very, very good. The Laboratory, you create a custom die from 6 different face that you've sacrificed. So you'd put a dice on here, it sacrifices that die, and whatever face that you've put that die down on will be put in the extracted faces. Once you have 6 extracted faces, the Laboratory will produce a dice with those 6 faces. So you see here, I've created a terrible one because I've just been using it to delete dice that I don't want, because I've been doing a lot of trial and error trying to create the perfect ascended dice. So this is literally a poo-poo dice that's literally not going to be used for anything. But what you obviously want to do is set up your 6 die face to be the optimal dice. Now, maybe what you'd be aiming to do is create a die with with one of each face, so that you have everything all in one die. Maybe you want to favorite, you know, certain things. That's obviously going to be down to you to choose a little bit, and I can talk about what might be best in just a moment. Ultimately, what you're trying to achieve with the Forge is something like this. Now, ignore the die face for the moment and the values. What we're looking at is the attributes, the things just under the die face. Highlander on the left side has infinite durability. This dice has infinite durability. It'll never run out. And on the right side, Fortitude, immune to all effects. That's wounding, freezing, sickness, craziness, chaos, whatever the other one's called. Basically, nothing bad can happen to it. So it's got infinite durability, and nothing bad can ever happen to it. It's basically the beast of all die. However, the die face aren't the best for this. Now, how I achieved this dice specifically was I actually combined one dice that had Highlander and one dice that had Fortitude and Meek, which is a negative attribute, in the Forge. So I forged them once and had 2 construct die, one with Highlander and one with Fortitude and Meek. Then I forged those 2 construct die together to produce this one that had Highlander and Fortitude. It was pure luck that I got Highlander and Fortitude. I may have ended up with Highlander and Meek as an example, or something else. So that's why there's a lot of RNG. It's going to be a lot of trial and error for you guys. So now I have the best setup in terms of those attributes. I want to talk about how you can, the best chance of getting those positive attributes. Now, I don't have this definitive, my testing hasn't necessarily confirmed this per se, but I've had it from a potentially reliable source that combining 2 peasant dice is going to be most likely to give you the fortified or the fortitude effect. And then combining 2 warrior dice, soldier dice, is going to be giving you the best chance of getting the Highlander. So take that as you will. I'm not 100% certain on that. I think I did get the fortitude from the double peasant dice, but I don't think the Highlander came from double warrior. So it's definitely not exclusive to that, if that makes sense. Okay, so now the next step, getting the best ideal die face. We've got our Highlander, we've got our fortitude. That's what we want. Now we want to, I mean, it's not the best die face. We don't have any combat on here. There's a couple of things that we don't have on here that we might want. So we can then go to the laboratory. Ignore the extracted faces that we have here. Now look at the die that you have with your Highlander and your fortitude. And we can fill in the gaps. So we have two work, 2 harvest, 1 build, and 1 knowledge. So if you go to your laboratory and fill in a bunch of faces that are not any of those faces, and leaning more towards the ones that you'd ideally like to have, maybe have 2 combat, 1 bless, 1, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to try and achieve. Some people like to go try and attempt. It's difficult, almost impossible, to get 1 of each face on the dice, on the die, or but I think just having something that's close to the best is going to be what you're aiming for here. So filling in the gaps, maybe getting 2 attacks, maybe getting a bless, maybe getting a raid if you intend to be doing raiding, maybe get a trade if you intend to be doing trading, because I usually pick one or the other for a particular run. I get those die face extracted in the laboratory. Now, once you've got your dice that's going to supplement the die face on your dice here with the Highlander and Fortitude traits, you'll want to forge this dice with the dice that comes out of the laboratory. So, this may ruin everything. You may get a die face that has the suboptimal faces, but still has the Highlander Fortitude. Suboptimal faces, but with Highlander and Fortitude, is still a strong dice. You may ruin your Highlander and Fortitude. It may not carry across both or either. But again, this is where the RNG and the luck kind of comes into play. So what I recommend doing is doing a run where you're just doing this. Your whole focus is trying to create the best dice possible, getting that Highlander, getting that Fortitude, getting the ideal die faces for you specifically for whatever you want to achieve. And then ascending those die and bringing them through. And you can ascend as many as you want. You build a dozen obelisks, ascend a dozen die, so you have options to bring into future runs with you. And that's that, guys. That's, I think, the best info that I can give you there. If anyone has any additional information, any additional tips and tricks outside of that, any questions, please feel free to leave comments below. I go live on my Twitch channel 5 days a week, every day except Monday and Friday. It'd be great to see some of you guys there. Regardless, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Take care.